So I am sitting here sweating it out in my kitchen. It is hot and we can afford to use our utilities, but old habits die hard, and I have not really been a super consistent AC user. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but since like college, and the reason is because I like the heat. I am from Texas. I don't mind sweating, and I always just forget to close all of my windows. They're all open. So we've got a ton of fans, but I am not in a room with a fan. So I am in a room with a light fixture that desperately needs to be dusted. It's right there, and you can't see it, but there is a spider web that is connected from the light to the fixture. So this is the story of Dog, part one of possibly many, at least part one of two. So this Akita dog has been coming around our home for about 3 weeks, and when we first met it, it would just kind of come and sit far off and watch Brandon, and then Brandon starts like throwing it treats. It comes up, it's been eating, and after about a week of that, he kept getting closer and closer. So he would just hang out with Brandon, and you know, Brandon's been outside for almost that whole span of time working on the chicken coop in our backyard. And so, and the largest section of our yard is not fenced, so he can just kind of walk up. So he would come and hang out every evening with Brandon for like the entire time Brandon was outside. And Brandon would just feed him treats. A week into this, we bought a bag of dog food. So we've been like actually feeding him for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. And when we saw him, we saw his ribs. And, you know, this is meant to be a very fluffy, hairy dog. So he was just gaunt. And the cemetery guy across the street told me that someone had dumped him in the cemetery, and it happens all the time. Dogs are a dime a dozen there, and they get weird animals too. Like, I think he told me they've had, now I've heard a lot of stories lately, so I'm trying to keep them all straight and who said what, but there's been like an alligator in the neighborhood. Has been a panther, like a mountain lion, and then like goats and things. So there's weird animals that get dumped, but cats and dogs get dumped often. And I guess it's just a regular occurrence. So he had a collar on, but he was so fearful and terrified, he would not let us get within, I don't know, 20 feet of him. Until we started feeding him, and then over the course of about a week and a half, he got to the point where he would get about 6 inches away, but if we made any motion to like try to reach out or pet him or anything, he would, you know, jerk away and just act terrified. And because this is an Akita, and I only know this because I started researching the breed, we did a reverse image search to figure out what he is, and he's like the spitting image of an Akita. And then we researched the temperament and what are these dogs like, what are they used for, and so forth. They are basically guard dogs, and they're very territorial. They have a high prey drive. They can be very stubborn by nature. It's just how they are bred to be. They tend to like their family, but they are not a good dog if you have other pets, if you have children. They just need a strong owner who understands their finicky, stubborn temperament and can work with them in such a way where, and I think that they need a job, but it's not like they need a job like a cattle dog needs a job. They need a job in a different way, and they need to be able to guard their territory, and they need to have possession over a domain, and they need to be protected from strangers who they might not act favorably towards. That is my understanding after having done a limited amount of YouTubing about this breed. And half the videos I watched said, do not get one of these dogs. And so I'm just like, okay, I don't want the dog. Like, I'll feed it, but I also knew, because I had accidentally adopted a cat once, that if you feed an animal for a specified amount of time, and it's different per county, that animal is yours. So I was nervous because in Kansas City it is 2 weeks. I just learned that here in Raytown it is 3 days. So that also poses a problem, because if by feeding the animal and taking care of the animal we have claimed it, we don't want to be the one held liable for when this dog goes gallivanting, around, but yet we can't catch him. We do not know what his history is, what his past is like, if he is aggressive, why someone gave him up, because for all we know, he attacked their child, they didn't want to turn him in, they dumped him in the cemetery, and that kind of stuff happens. So we've just been very cautious. We have a lot of peace in our home. We do not need a crisis. And so in my mind, I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to secretly feed this dog because no one else is. His ribs are showing. I'm going to let him eat from the backyard. We'll scatter feed along the fence line so that there's no conflict between our dogs and him. And if he gets caught, if he gets hit by a car, if he gets, found by someone who wants to love him, we are just doing this with the understanding that it's probably not forever. So that was kind of my mentality, and I was just like, who's gonna know, Well, while I'm feeding this dog, I'm reaching out to like the Akita rescue sites and to some of the no-kill shelters here. No one has space. No one will take the dog. So, hey, stop it and lay down. Those are my dogs crying in the kitchen because they want outside. But they want outside so they can bark, and everyone is asleep right now. You cannot go outside and bark. So you need to lay down. Sit right now. Good girl. That's it. Good girl. So, can you sit? Okay. So, I guess I just thought, I want to do the right thing. If we can catch him, I would love to connect him with a rescue or a shelter, but I cannot catch the dog and keep him here at my home for some unnamed amount of time, because what happens if we catch the dog and then we can't approach it within our fence line? What happens if we catch the dog and he attacks our dog, or he's not safe around our baby, or we're not safe? There's so many what ifs. It's kind of like, okay, I'm not going to catch the dog and take him in until I absolutely have to, because there are too many risks. And while I don't want anything bad to happen to him, that is just the way of the world. If he's out there going to and fro, he's probably got 3 or 4 other people taking care of him. And that's just what it is for a stray dog. It's not my problem. But I guess I just felt compassion for him. And so I posted on this Raytown Unleashed group, and all of the sudden I have like 4 emails from different people saying, I am in Casey Dog Catchers. I keep wanting to call them snatchers, but they are catchers. I'm in this Casey Dog Catchers group. What is your exact location? When did you see the dog? Can you catch him? And I was just so caught off guard because no one's messaging me from the actual group. It's a Facebook group. There are no listed admins. And then I was like, hey, I'd be happy to talk to you. Here's my phone number. Can you just give me a call? Because I don't want to give out a ton of information until I know what you're going to do with the dog. And then they said in a message, well, we work with Raytown Animal Control. He'll be put on a 7-day hold, and that's kind of the plan for him. And I was like, well, honestly, I don't think that this dog should be put in a shelter. I don't want him here. I don't want him in a shelter. Because I think if he is caught by animal control or and then transferred to animal control, I think that environment with a small cage and barking dogs all the time and bright lights and, no contact, it's going to be so stressful. I think it's going to send this already fearful, jaded, unsocialized dog, it's going to tip him in the wrong direction, and y'all are going to deem him, or this, the county or whoever oversees this animal control is going to deem him unadoptable, and they're going to euthanize him. And I can tell this dog has a good soul. I think he's fearful. I think he probably has not been socialized. There's a pretty good chance he's been abused by someone. And abandonment is a form of abuse. So all of this is running in my mind, and I'm just like, and then also in my mind, I'm like, okay, I was searching, do they have a website, these KC dog catcher people? They don't have a website. I was asking, is it a nonprofit? No, they're just random, like individuals on Facebook who want to get dogs off the street. And so in my mind, I'm just thinking, okay, there's no accountability. If it's not an official organization, there's really no formal funding structure or financial structure. They've got to be making money somehow. All of these volunteers are acting very aggressive about wanting the exact location of this dog and can I catch him and is he neutered or unneutered and all this stuff. So in my mind, I'm like, I wonder if these people are like taking dogs and breeding them or putting them in dog fights or selling them or doing terrible things to dogs. Or is the city, like Brandon said something about PETA and how like there was a lot of sketchy things happening with different PETA type organizations where people would take dogs out of backyards and they would put them down. And I think that there was like money involved in some of that. And so we just didn't know. And all we knew was this is a very unofficial group. They are not responding directly to my questions. I asked them, well, what happens after the 7-day hold? And they said, we don't know. I said, can I adopt the dog after the 7-day hold? And they said, well, you'll get if you want, you can look up his serial number and you can follow him. And if he's available, then yes. And I was just thinking, okay, if they put this dog who can barely come up to us whenever we're trying to feed him like rotisserie turkey, if they put this dog in a cage and he's in that kind of environment, he's going to change in his demeanor in a negative way. And I think, like, how can he win? Whereas if he's in an environment where someone can work with him and give him the attention he needs and just be very patient and take things very slow and peaceful, I think he has a shot at making a very good pet, especially for someone who wants a dog like this and who likes this breed and who understands the temperament. That could be a real blessing for someone. So that's kind of the backstory. I make this post, everyone's messaging me. The next day, I see all these trucks driving by our house very slowly, with like people staring in, taking pictures. One of the trucks had this huge rusted trap in the back of it. And I said to Brandon, because we were working outside on the porch, I said, those are the dog catchers. Now, I did not give out my address. I did mention that I think the dog goes to a cemetery near our house. And I gave them my phone number so that they could call or text me to have a more detailed conversation, because I just didn't want to tell them exactly where the dog was, not knowing what their intentions are or who they're accountable to or who they're working with. I'm not going to hand a dog over to a total stranger like that. And so they're driving by, and I said, those are those dog catchers, and they're visiting with the neighbor across the street who has the cemetery. And then eventually they come by our house, and the girl hops out of the truck, and she's like, so have you seen the dog today? And I was like, okay, so no offense, I mean, I don't want to offend anyone if you're watching, but to come to my house without having you